Ty waiting out his clock, then it's Camerupt time. The opponent down a shield looking for some chip damage. Ty gonna commit the shield and the opponent full sends the Shadow Ball. They continue to stay in. This only means one thing. Surely they're weak to Camerupt in the back. Froslass running out of HP. And it's Escavalier in the back. Blink and you're gonna miss it. So, welcome back to the channel. It's been a while. My good friend Ty, a person I call the King of Entertainment, is back featured on the channel. He's always the king of spice, however today, he's got that perfect combination of spice with the Shadow Camerupt and a really strong team you can climb with in the last couple of days of the Mountain Cup. In case you don't know about Shadow Camerupt, you're about to find out. Without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game 1, we lead Diggersby into Mawile, absolute dream lead. The opponent staying in, which is even more advantageous. The opponent attempts to catch a fire punch on Mancargo. The opponent didn't catch. Do they respect the earthquake? Mancargo commits a shield. However, Diggersby so far ahead in energy, going to outpace the earthquake. Number 2, the opponent in shambles. Do they commit that final shield? They do not. Mancargo straight in and straight out. Ty sitting in an absolute great spot. In game number 1, the opponent sends out Froslass. Diggersby has that fire type coverage, fire punch. Does some very nice chip damage. And in case you're wondering why Torterra isn't on the graphic, you're about to see. It was the best third shield Ty ever used, and then he decided not to use it again. Camerupt comes in, looking to clean up. We're going to shield up the power up punch, commit to the Ember farm down, and that Froslass in the back is about to be Camerupt food. The opponent hoping Ty died of a heart attack. He did not, as he sent me these battles, so he can easily shield up, commit to the Ember farm down, and we're off to a 1-0 start. Moving on to the next one. We see Diggersby into Gliscor, not a great matchup for our angry looking Easter Bunny, as these mud shots are double resisted. We can only hit them for neutral damage with these non-stab fire punches in Gliscor, despite being a shadow tanks that really easily. Ty gonna call the Knight/bait, and the opponent is indeed a master baiter. Gliscor now going straight Knight/Ty is gonna shield up the second. The opponent then pivots out into Empoleon. Do they think they caught a fire punch? We're going straight earthquake. The opponent lets it go through 2 shields. Holy smokes, Mr. Opponent, you've got to respect the earthquake, as Ty isn't baiting. It's Lucario in the back. This is short of a Shadow Ball. However, the opponent's on close combat. Holy smokes, this is a strange turn of events. We've seen the mid game with Pokemon getting nuked left, right and centre. Gliscor comes back out. They're absolutely fucked, if I'm honest, as we've got Froslass. The opponent shields the fire punch. Fickersby, aka Diggersby, makes fire punch number 2. This is going to lower the health of the Gliscor. The opponent commits to the wing attack farm down. However, it's going to be straight powder snow to the finish. Ty probably not going to shield the first one in case the opponent boosts. The RNG gods give the unnecessary boost, but that isn't going to save this Gliscor. The powder snow that you see go through is all she wrote. Wow, that mid game definitely caught me sleeping, especially as I'm recording this at 5 AM. Ty was not ready for that. We see the same lead in the next battle. Diggersby into Shadow Gliscor. The opponent tanks the fire punch. They then continue to overfarm, allowing Fickersby to get to fire punch number 2. I think at this stage now I'd just call the bait. As we all know, people love to masturbate. The opponent is a masturbator, and that Knight/, didn't do a lot. Ty now actually has the opportunity to try and correctly shield an earthquake. Earthquake would be lethal, and Ty now in the opponent's head. We're going to fire off one more fire punch, and this is going to get the Gliscor very deep in the red. The opponent shields it up, but then make a great catch. Catching the neutral fire punch on Walrus, however, in the grand scheme of things, this is pretty advantageous for Ty, as this puts this big fat Walrus into Shadow Ball range. He pivoted out into Froslass and going straight for the Shadow Ball. The opponent calls the bait and hashtag we're not baiting. Shadow Ball returns Walrus to its Pokeball. It's Froslass in the back, and again Ty going for the play that we love to see. Hashtag no bait on this channel. The opponent calls the bait, they get wrecked, and then they concede the match. A prime example of why you shouldn't be a master baiter. Moving on to the next one. Diggersby into Abomasnow. The typing advantage is with the opponent. However, this is why I call Diggersby Fickersby. That Weather Ball didn't do a whole heap of damage, and this fire punch is going to be double super effective. The opponent shields it up, and Ty pivots out into his Froslass. Froslass, one of the best save switches in the league. The opponent attempted to make a great catch, catching the Avalanche on Lapras, which would be double resisted. However, Ty showed great discipline, holding his energy. This shiny Lapras that looks like it's about to attend a job interview, rocking the bow tie, returns fire with the Surf. Ty shrugged it off, returns fire with another Shadow Ball. The opponent already down one shield, unwilling to shield their Lapras. They've lost switch and now they're going to see Magcargo aligned with Diggersby. Ty up shields, easily going to shield up what I imagine is going to be a Rock Tomb. Of course the opponent Rock Tombed. However, this Earthquake double super effective, no debuff, going to save this snail. The opponent commits the final shield. Now Abomasnow about to get feasted on by this Camerupt. The opponent has enough for an energy ball that is neutral due to our fire ground typing. Camerupt survives on 1 HP and a dream, and the opponent just concedes the match. Very nicely done. Moving on to the next one. Diggersby into Barbaracle. Barbaracle pretty spicy. I haven't seen anyone else repping this. However, it's got pretty good coverage. It's got access to moves like Cross Chop, Stone Edge and Grass Knot. The opponent gets baited with the double resisted Fire Punch. If they're running Grass Knot, this will be lethal. However, non-stab Cross Chop doesn't get the job done. Ty makes the Earthquake. The opponent going to be forced to double shield or get taken out. The opponent happy to 2 shield the Barbaracle. Ty going to have to respect the potential stab Stone Edge. However, we shielded Grass Knot, so they had Grass Knot the entire time. They now send out a Mawile. Mawile, usually a very good Froslass counter. However, an unshielded Shadow Mawile is essentially dead weight. Shadow Ball, near one-shots we commit to the Powder Snow farm down. If Barbaracle does return, we will make the Shadow Ball. Ty not committing. I'm not sure if that water gun does knock out. We go for the resisted Avalanche. We did actually survive. However, the chip damage puts this thing deep in the red. We come in to Diggersby. The opponent gets scared, fire off the energy. Then we've got 1 shield Camerupt versus the world. We go for the resisted Ember farm down. The opponent's got a Lucario in the back. They need to counter down. The opponent froze, giving us an extra Ember, and this is going to be game over. We shield up the power up punch, make the overheat on 1 HP and a dream, and that's going to be all she wrote. You can see by our health, I think if the opponent went straight fast moves, it would have actually been a tie. We see the battle of the ground types. Wish Daddy Cash has a coverage move that is a pretty good nuke, especially for this Easter Bunny, as Blizzard would be hitting for huge super effective damage. Ty attempts to catch the Blizzard on Froslass. We're unsuccessful. The opponent now going to go Mud Bomb spam into our Froslass. Froslass eats the first. Froslass then says, come on, I'm hungry, give me number 2. We eat the second, then fire off the Avalanche on CMP. Is the opponent willing to shield this low health Wish Cash? They are not. They now enter the Froslass mirror. It looks like the opponent can Powder Snow farm us all the way down, not before a Shadow Ball. However, the opponent can easily shield this up and then commit to the fast move beat down. A loaded Froslass is super scary. Ty, though, does have 2 shields. Let's see if he manages to play his way out of this one. I imagine we're just going to double shield and attempt to Ember this all the way down. The opponent goes for the Shadow Ball. We're going to have to commit the second shield as well. Camerupt has nukes though, so it should be getting a shield back of whatever is in the back. However, the opponent sends out Escavalier. There's no need to throw anything as it's straight in and straight out, and the opponent then concedes. Wow, you love to see it. Camerupt really wants to nuke something. However, so far it's just fast move beat down everything. In the next battle, we see Diggersby into Froslass. Fire Punch doesn't do too much. We attempt to catch an Avalanche on our own Froslass. This is now well over a Shadow Ball. Ty correctly shields up the Shadow Ball. Then the opponent pivots out into Magcargo. Ty going for a very risky Avalanche bait. Let's see how big the opponent's Gohonas are, and the opponent calls it. Holy smokes, this is why I personally don't bait. However, if you're going to bait once, you may as well continue to masturbate. The opponent calls the second one as well. Froslass actually makes the third Avalanche on what looks like a CMP tie. Avalanche does draw a shield and the opponent did throw. So the masturbating session in the mid game paid off pretty nicely for Ty. We can now send out Diggersby, look for the mud shot farm down. Overheat, pretty good move. However, Diggersby living up to its name, we do commit to the mud shot farm down. The Froslass is in the yellow, so this fire punch is going to be pressuring that final shield. If the opponent does shield, We have finally a chance for Camerupt to nuke something. The opponent does commit that shield. We see the aggressive switch into Camerupt. The opponent gonna throw a move. Ty just can easily shield this up. Hopefully it's not something like Wish Daddy Cash in the back that we wouldn't be able to nuke. However, it's the mirror, and you already know that this Camerupt is about to get returned to its Pokeball. GG's, and thanks for playing. We've seen the mighty Camerupt putting on a clinic in fast move beatdown. However, both Earth Power and Overheat definitely hit like trucks. In the next battle, we see the mirror lead. This is a battle I definitely would not recommend baiting. As you can see, even 2 Earthquakes aren't lethal. Ty lands the Earthquake. I imagine the opponent gonna return fire with an Earthquake. We could see that Ty did win CMP, so we have to be mindful the opponent could attempt to catch. They don't catch, they just play 2 charge move priority. Ty lands the Earthquake, gets the opponent's Diggersby into the red. Ty gonna commit a shield here. The opponent actually went for a bait, huge bait from the opponent. The opponent an absolute king of master baiting. However, Ty makes the fire punch on CMP. The opponent shield it up. I imagine we can just let this go, come in with Froslass and get ahead on energy. We actually didn't get taken up, but we then see the snipe with Froslass. Beautiful play from Ty. Now the opponent sends out Runarigus. We go straight for the Avalanche. The opponent has CMP tied us, so they're going straight for a Sand Tomb. Ty, who's counting, always on point. Definitely not going to be shielding up this, as they haven't got enough for a Shadow Ball. The opponent gonna get outpaced to the next charge move. They actually make a beautiful catch, catching the Avalanche on Escavalier. However, Escavalier, not the bulkiest, that still gets them into the yellow. It's now Camerupt time. We farm down before they even make a charge move. Out comes Runarigus. We look to catch on Diggersby. We get some lag. You can see the spinning ball of death in the top left. We shield up the Sand Tomb. Ty in a tricky spot. However, stay in school, kids. Learn to count. We didn't catch the first, but we certainly do catch the second, and it's the Shadow Ball. Holy smokes, we now come in, throw the Overheat. We don't hit any bubbles, and it still nukes Runarigus. Beautiful, beautiful endgame. Moving on to the next one. Diggersby into Ferrothorn, much like Abomasnow. We don't have the typing advantage, however our coverage move of Fire Punch are very useful, as both Grass and Steel take super effective. The opponent made a savage catch, catching the Fire Punch on Gliscor. However, that chip damage can mean Ty can tank the Night Slash, and we should be able to Powder Snow down in 4. It's double super effective. Do we get there? Yes, we do. We've got residual energy. Good to go. And we should be pressuring shields from absolutely anything in this meta. The opponent sends out Ferrothorn. It looks like a CMP Ty. We send the Shadow Ball. It was a CMP. The opponent needs to go to school and learn to count. If I was the opponent, I just would have tried to aggressively Bullet Seed farm them all the way down. Mirror Shot took out our Froslass. We come in to Camerupt, but the opponent has a Marshtomp lurking in the back. Marshtomp pretty good against the remainder of our team. However, Ty up shields, shielded up, and he's going to look to pressure the final shield with the Earth Power. We then see the aggressive pivot into Diggersby. Marshtomp going to go straight for a Surf, and ouch, that hurt. Diggersby does outpace to the Earthquake. Shadow Marshtomp about to be returned to the Pokeball. We're sitting in a pretty good spot. The opponent needs to go for a Power Whip to take us out. I believe this is just the Mirror Shot. Ty looking like he agrees it is the Mirror Shot. That isn't lethal. Then throw 1 Mud Shot and the Fire Punch. That is the correct fast move time. And if you're using 2 turn versus 3 turn, you want to throw at 1, 4 or 7. The opponent goes for another Mirror Shot. Ty just going to allow Diggersby to go down, and 1 Ember should be all she wrote. Again, very beautifully done. Moving on to the next one. We see the Dream Lead. Diggersby into Runarigus. Mr. Opponent, why the heck are you staying in? The opponent's coverage move could potentially be Rock Tomb. However, that also not going to do anything. The opponent goes for a Sand Tomb. Why the heck are you staying in? The opponent going to throw another Sand Tomb. Diggersby still in the green despite taking 2 charge moves. The Shadow Claws are double resisted due to our normal typing. We throw the Earthquake. The opponent now pivots out into a Walrus. Ty has his defense lowered by 2 stages. We go for the Fire Punch bait, and the opponent calls it. We now enter Camerupt. Camerupt does take neutral from all this ice type damage, as ground takes super effective and fire does resist ice. We shield up the Icicle Sphere. It looks like the opponent committing to an Earthquake. I don't really think that's necessary. Shadow Camerupt isn't the bulkiest. We throw on CMP, great count in. From Ty, the opponent actually commits a shield just to get the Earthquake off. Massive overkill. In my humble opinion, we can now come into Froslass commit to the resisted Powder Snow farm down. If Runerigus does return, we will be able to Powder Snow them down before they reach a Shadow Ball. The opponent attempts to catch an Avalanche on their own Froslass Ty. Super disciplined, throws the Shadow Ball. This game's over. The opponent attempts to call a bait, and there's no bait coming. And that is all she wrote. Very, very well played from my boy Ty throughout the video. So if you'd like your battles featured on my channel, a link to the battle submission form is down below. Don't forget to go hunt them Team Rocket grunts. We've got around 36 hours left of the Team Rocket event at the time I was making this video. So go hunt them grunts. Make sure you remove frustration off them shadow Pokemon. Speaking of which, if you want to see any particular shadow Pokemon, post it in the comment section down below and I'll do my best to feature it on the channel. So I'd just like to say thanks for watching and I will see you all in the next one.